So we're gonna stick with the sports theme just for a second, if you bear with me.
Okay. I can't run very fast.
Well, this isn't like ab muscle ripping, but I, was doing all this research on you as one does to prepare for an interview, and there were commencement speech videos of you, and then there was this video of you doing this scooter race with the head coach of the Seahawks NFL team. So what was going on there?
I'm starting to think my mom was right, that things live forever on the internet. So
They do.
That's right. So it's kind of hard to explain where that came from, but the notion of play, I think, is really important in cultural transformation. And one time a couple of years ago, I rode a scooter out onto the stage for a kickoff. By the way, the person following me rode out in a Maserati, so it was a little, a bit of a message there to say, like, let's not take ourselves so seriously.
Uh-huh.
When I met with Pete Carroll, he was giving me some coaching on how to coach. And he saw the scooters on the wall, and he said, do you want to race? And I was like, oh, hell yeah. And so
This is in front of your employees.
This was a spur-of-the-moment thing. We raced down the hallway, and they collected very quickly. And then a lot of, sort of videos kind of popped up in some interesting places. And the OSHA complaints were really stunning.
So it's a good segue, though, into the culture piece.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll, the Seahawks head coach, actually has this program, and it's some kind of mind training. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but tell us about how you've approached that internally and what this has to do with culture and transformation.
Yeah, so culture, in my opinion, is really about how people come together. It's the character of a company. And when you're trying to transform a company, you've got to have culture as a piece of it, but that's not the only thing. I think it's one of the most important things. But it's mission, mindset, and culture, I think, are the three levers that you pull to accelerate any change of any kind. And the culture piece, the people piece of it, is probably the most important, and appealing to everybody's sense of authenticity, who they really are, not the persona that they build to try and come to work and be the thing that they think the company wants to be, but rather showing up as the person that they really are. And I try and use whatever techniques possible to allow that to happen, to enable them to come and be their authentic self, because I think that's when you actually start getting to the real conversation.
So an example of a technique would be?
Riding a scooter with somebody. It's pretty quick. When you're in heels and you're like, you want me to ride a scooter? Well, I also have a trampoline in my office, but that's a different story. We'll talk about that some other time.
So, it's interesting because that's not like bringing your authentic self to work, and some of the other lingo we hear out of Microsoft now, and obviously a big emphasis on empathy, scaling empathy. That is not the association that any of us would have had with the company just a few years back.
Right.
So what has
that
changed?
happen? Yeah, so Satya Nadella lays it out really well in his book, Hit Refresh. But basically, when he took over almost 6 years ago, he, saw the company as on, the brink of obsolescence. We were sort of stagnating. Growth was hard to find, and our technical capabilities weren't really resonating with the market. And he saw that not only did we need to play in this cloud market, but that we were going to have to very quickly change so much more than just our technical capabilities. He redefined the mission to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. If you're going to do that, you're probably going to need to understand what those people and organizations need, which means you're going to have this empathic muscle. I don't think empathy was at the core of our old culture. We were sort of the know-it-alls, and we wanted to become the learn-it-alls so that we could become more empathic.
So you mentioned the cloud infrastructure, and you've made a lot of headway there, and a lot of headway in general, very impressive. When Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014, the company's market cap was at $315 billion, and now it's a bit over $1 trillion with a T. So I wonder, though, can you talk some more about how that in any way goes hand in hand with the empathy piece and
Sure.
and the culture piece, because cloud infrastructure seems like a little bit separate from all of that.
From that,
Yeah.
right. Well, I think it's a couple things. The first is we're not thinking about our share price, because as soon as we start thinking about our share price is when you get complacent. We're thinking about our customers' business outcomes, their goals, and what they're trying to achieve in this digital world. I mean, the world is becoming a computer. Everything is getting connected. We're awash in data. And it's a race to figure out who can get insights from their data quickest so that they can transform their business model. And if you think about your own products, or you think about your stock price, you're not spending nearly enough time thinking about your customer outcomes. And that shift that Microsoft made of, wow, instead of thinking about our own capabilities and telling our customers what we think they should do, maybe we ought to think about what they want to do. Because the truth is, cloud infrastructure is just one of the many enablers. There's a lot of layers of technology in there. It's the process of change and bringing people together to innovate on top of a technology platform. That's the hard stuff. Cloud infrastructure, I mean, the technologists would argue with me, but that's table stakes. It's that piece on top that actually differentiates Microsoft new from Microsoft old.
So what are you seeing with your customers? Because obviously you do a fair bit, both internal and external,
Sure.
To the company. So are you seeing them applying some of the same shifts that you've made on the culture side, not just the technology side?
Yeah, well, the ones that are successful with digital transformation, that's exactly what we're seeing. Because again, great technology is table stakes. It's how the people come together to drive innovation that really matters. And customers that focus on innovation are winning. And they're asking us something different. I think in the old days, they used to sort of expect us to come with our technology game. Now they're sort of saying, hey, we've noticed that you've changed. By the way, we've made mistakes, and we've learned a lot, and we've gotten some things right. And what we're learning, what I'm trying to drive through the US business, is to actually bring that storyboard, that learning to our customers, because it's valuable. Kate, how do you actually get the entire sales force to think about business outcomes instead of products when they're on sales plans that are tied to products? And, the answer is, it's really hard. And, here are the things that we do to try and build that awareness, that competency, that fluency, to refocus their behaviors to deliver a different set of outcomes for Microsoft. Basically, growing our what the total pie could possibly be for the company.
Please be thinking of questions for Kate, because I'll turn to you guys in just a minute here. But I want to ask you also about some of the employee backlash, because this is something that Microsoft is not the only one dealing with. Obviously, Salesforce and Google and several others. We have Palantir on stage here tomorrow. Are having to grapple with some of the same issues, and that's backlash and protests against some of the government contracts, especially DoD contracts that have been awarded to tech companies recently. So you just very recently won the bid for a hotly contested $10 billion Pentagon cloud computing contract. This is at a time when you just recently had employee protests. Now some employees are protesting this latest contract. What is the key to communicating the decision from the top leadership, with the understanding, of course, and the appreciation for the fact that not everybody will be along with you, and will agree.
Yeah. So what I've seen and what I love about Microsoft of New, and I've been there 2.5 years now, is we have a process for it. It starts by being grounded with our purpose. I talked about our mission of empowering the world to achieve more. That's about driving productivity. But we quickly go to a place of listening to the concern. And, for our employees that are concerned about us providing technology to war fighters, it's about listening and understanding how does that conflict with our purpose, our mission, if it does. And we harness the power of thought leaders inside and outside the company to really sort of reflect. And then the senior leadership team of Microsoft, makes a call. And this call is, if we're really going to be a company that uses a technology platform to enable the world to achieve more, then we need to provide the technology to our government that we elected to protect our freedoms. And that's the answer. And we make provisions for employees to move to other parts of the business where they don't have to work on services that directly impact that contract.
And Satya Nadella has said that there is this understanding, and it's okay if not all employees agree.
Right.
Does the senior leadership team have to agree and be united on that? And were they with that decision?
I don't know the answer to that, because what I see is kind of like this thorough analysis and the logic to get there. And I think that that's what's important, as well as the very, very thorough communication with the entire company about how we got to that decision. And that's, I think, the part to reflect on, is that there is a process for assessing and communicating. And we also make decisions to pivot away from opportunities. I've seen a number of times where employees have put concerns on the board about selling technology to entities where we think there's something nefarious going on. We're extremely quick to assess it and to actually not pursue an opportunity when that happens. So there's lots of stuff on both sides. I think the Techlash, you get one side of the story for sure.
Okay, questions for Kate? Question back there.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm with the Gates Foundation, so we're neighbors. Question for you. We talk a lot about designing for women, and when you design for all, you often design for men. So could you share a little bit about how you think about design, whether that's products or services, and gearing that specifically toward women?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So it's about representation, and that's why we're working so hard to build a more diverse population inside of Microsoft across every function. And I'm, the first female president of Microsoft US. Thanks. I'm excited about that. Since I've come to the company, we've transformed the leadership team. It's more than half female, the people who report to me. And we have 3 African-American women on the team reporting to me. Which is it's only just the beginning. Our CFO is Hispanic, and our general counsel is Indian. And so we're working very hard to create diversity, because I think you need diversity inside in order to be able to design for all of the underrepresented populations.
Other questions? We've got a couple over here.
Hi, Kate. Stacy Tank. Good to see you. We came to visit you about a year ago and talked about the transformation work that was happening. And I have more of an anecdote and a little bit of a question. But about 6 months ago, my son was playing hockey and shot a hockey puck into his iPad. And while he was thinking about it just knocked the time clock over. It's such a dramatic, exactly. As he was thinking about his replacement device, he said something really interesting to me. He said, "Mom, I really want a Surface." And it stopped me in my tracks. This is a kid from age 3 who said he was dying to work for Apple when he was a grown-up. And I remember when we were...
Give me a call, will you?
I'm telling you.
Well, is this a plant in
I like
the
him
audience?
already.
No, I also use a Surface. It's really interesting. He loves to draw.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in the conference room with you and I looked around the table, there were a bunch of people that were using Apple devices.
Right.
And you said, "Hey, we're device agnostic."
Right.
But what I was wondering is, in your quest for humility and being this quest for learning,
Yeah.
maybe it made you better at making products too, because you want people to choose the Surface. When I walked into that room and saw Apple devices, it made me uncomfortable. I was at Microsoft. I wanted to see Surfaces around the table. But maybe somehow through the humility came connection to customer and better products.
I think it's a really good point, and I think one of the keys to the success of Satya's vision has been to completely open the Microsoft ecosystem. So it used to be narrow and proprietary and focused only on our products, and that's not what the opportunity is in the world. We want to meet our customers where they are, in whatever device or form factor they want, on whatever operating system they want, in whatever experience they envision. And the reason why we created the Surface, actually, this is more opinion than fact. One of my beliefs is that the reason that we created the Surface device is to help the world imagine what it could be like to really push the forefront of design in the context of what is thought of as a commodity device. And I thought at the point where we launched Surface, we were losing a little bit of that innovation in the marketplace, and I think it's back in spades, and it's a great thing. And yes, I want lots of Surface share in the US market and as a whole globally for Microsoft, but I think the world is a better place with competitive devices because that's what our customers want.
We do unfortunately need to wrap in just a few seconds here, but I thought it would be a good time to mention this quote from Satya, which was something along the lines of, you don't join Microsoft to be cool, you join Microsoft to help others be cool. Would you say that that kind of sums up what Microsoft is today, and are you okay with that?
Totally okay with that. I was never the cool kid, so I feel like I'm finally at home, you know, and I think it really speaks to this notion of making other people cool is about abdicating all of your self-interest to try and provide what they want. It's about focusing on their outcomes, and that's what I'm trying to train the sales force to do, and I think we're on a good path to do it, but we got lots more work ahead.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of your questions, but you can catch Kate scootering down the beach later.
That's right.
So, thank you, Kate.
Thank you.